Hello everyone. In a small town in Italy, there lived a priest named Padre Giuliano. He was known as a dedicated spiritual leader. His days were spent leading masses, reading scriptures, and helping his congregation with prayers and wise counsel. However, there was one secret he harbored deep in his heart. He bore a profound hatred for Islam. This hatred did not arise without reason. In his youth, Giuliano's father died in an incident he associated with interfaith conflict in southern Italy. Since then, he had regarded Islam as a threat to the Christian world, and even to humanity. This hatred grew over time, even though he had rarely interacted directly with Muslims. In a small village in Italy, the church led by Padre Giuliano had always been the center of community activities. Every week, the old building was filled with congregants who listened to his sermons. Giuliano was known as a skilled orator, intelligent, and undefeated in theological debates. He firmly believed that his faith was the only path to truth. However, everything changed when a young Muslim man named Yusuf came to the village. Yusuf was a theology student from Egypt, traveling through Europe to learn about different cultures and religions. His presence attracted the attention of the villagers, including Giuliano. Seeing Yusuf's arrival as an opportunity to demonstrate the superiority of his faith, Giuliano proposed a debate in his church. "I will show this young man the truth of the gospel," thought Giuliano. The congregation agreed and eagerly awaited the debate. The day of the debate arrived, and the church was packed. On one side stood Padre Giuliano with his steadfast conviction. On the other, Yusuf sat calmly, carrying the Qur'an and a few notebooks. The debate began with Giuliano delivering a lengthy statement about the superiority of Christianity and criticizing Islam. He spoke about the doctrine of the Trinity, original sin, and salvation through Jesus Christ. Then it was Yusuf's turn to respond. With a soft and calm voice, Yusuf said, "Padre, I respect your faith, but allow me to ask one simple question. If God is one, all-powerful and perfect, why would he need a son to redeem human sins? Is God not powerful enough to forgive sins without an intermediary?" The church fell silent. The congregation turned their eyes to Giuliano, waiting for his response. The priest tried to explain using arguments about God's great love, but Yusuf politely asked again, "Wouldn't God's love require no blood sacrifice? Is he not loving enough to forgive simply by his will?" Giuliano began to lose his footing. Yusuf continued, explaining the concept of God's oneness in Islam with simple yet profound analogies. He also quoted verses from the Qur'an and highlighted the similarities between Jesus' teachings and those of the prophets in Islam. Each of Yusuf's answers left the congregation astonished. He explained logically, without emotion, and always maintained his politeness. A member of the congregation asked, "If Jesus is not God, then who is he according to your religion?" Yusuf smiled and replied, "We believe that Jesus is a great prophet. He was sent by God to guide humanity to the truth, just like Moses, Abraham, and Prophet Muhammad. We honor him as one of God's messengers, not as God himself." The debate lasted for 3 hours. When it was over, many members of the congregation approached Yusuf with additional questions. They were amazed by his wise and thoughtful answers. Some even began to question their long-held beliefs. Giuliano, who had always prided himself on being undefeated, sat motionless in his chair. He had never imagined losing a debate, especially in front of his own congregation. A few days after the intense debate between Padre Giuliano and Yusuf, the small village church was once again filled with its congregation. The debate had shaken the hearts of many, especially those who had been loyal followers of Giuliano. Yusuf's logical and courteous responses left a deep impression, even on someone unexpected, Alano, one of Giuliano's closest church members. Padre Giuliano, still burdened by the shame of his defeat, felt immense pressure from his congregation. Fearing he was losing his influence, he decided to take drastic action. He resolved to attack Islam's primary symbol, the Qur'an, in front of his congregation, hoping to rekindle their spirit and reaffirm their faith in his teachings. On a Sunday morning, after the service, Giuliano stood before the congregation with a Qur'an he had taken from the church library. In a loud voice, he declared, "This book is a threat to our faith. Today, I will show you that it holds no power." He raised the Qur'an high, preparing to stomp on it in front of everyone. But before his foot could touch the holy book, a man from the congregation stood firmly. It was Alano. He walked to the front and stopped Padre Giuliano. "Padre, stop," he called out with a voice full of courage. "What you are about to do is not what Jesus taught. Did Jesus not teach love, compassion, and respect for all humanity, even those of different beliefs?" The room fell silent. The congregation stared at Alano, known for his unwavering loyalty to the church, now opposing their priest. Giuliano, shocked by Alano's boldness, angrily retorted, "You defend this book, Alano? Have you forgotten who you are and what you believe?" Alano nodded calmly. "Padre, I haven't forgotten who I am, but after the debate with Yusuf a few days ago, I began reading the Quran myself. I wanted to understand what made this book so powerful that you felt the need to destroy it. And what I found was not a threat but the truth." Alano turned to the congregation and continued, "The Quran teaches about the oneness of God, his compassion for all creation, and the importance of living justly and morally. Even Jesus, whom we love as a great prophet, is mentioned with great respect in this book." The congregation began to murmur, shocked by Alano's admission. Some appeared curious, while others seemed uneasy. Giuliano tried to interrupt Alano, but he continued resolutely. "Padre, what you're about to do, disrespecting a holy scripture revered by millions, is far from the teachings of Jesus. If we truly follow his path, we must love, not hate. We must seek truth, not impose falsehood." The congregation listened intently. Alano then said, "I have read the Quran, and it has opened my heart. I not only see truth in it, but I also feel a peace I have never experienced before. Today, I want to sincerely say, I have embraced Islam as my religion." His declaration caused an uproar in the room. The congregation was stunned, but many were also intrigued by what Alano had shared. One by one, they began asking questions, and Alano answered gently and confidently, quoting what he had learned from the Quran. In a short time, the atmosphere shifted. The congregation, initially hesitant, began to open their hearts. Some even asked Alano to teach them more about Islam. That day, nearly the entire congregation, including the most devout families, decided to embrace Islam. Meanwhile, Padre Giuliano could only sit in silence. He never imagined that his plan to discredit Islam would instead lead to him losing his entire congregation. He felt devastated and in shock, unsure of how to face this new reality.